Hi everyone, welcome back to another great interview series. My name is Meher, I'm from Vancouver, BC, and today I have the privilege to interview Matthew Deichler from North Carolina. How are you, Matthew?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So Matthew is the founder of the Lamp on the Stand Motivational Ministry, a leading content development leadership and a coaching firm committed to inspiring faith-led transformation. He is also an outspoken mental health advocate with nearly a decade of powerful influence in the mental health community. So Matthew, my first question for you is, since here in Canada it's the mental health month, which passed last week. So what tips you have for people, for job seekers, for or everyone, especially during COVID time, we hear that the mental health is increasing. What they can do to have that under control?
Yeah, well, I would say within organizations, so employers need to be aware of, the vulnerability really of their employees in this season that we're in. With COVID-19, you've got a lot of people that are living essentially in social isolation. So they may be dealing with things that they've never experienced before in their lives, whether that's anxiety, depression. There's a lot of things that come into play. Even addiction becomes a thing when you're kind of closed up in your own space for too long. You kind of need that ability to escape, and that's a lot of times when these habits come into play. So I would just say that it's really important for employers right now to be building relationships with their people. And I'm not just talking about, jumping on a team call every once in a while, but reaching out on an individual basis, and just allowing for the opportunity for people to, have a conversation. If they feel moved to do that, don't put individuals in a situation where they feel pressured to speak about, mental health, but just give them the chance. It's just a casual check-in call. How are you doing? How are things? How are you adapting to like this new environment that we're asking you to work from? And just give them the opportunity to speak if in fact, they're going through something. I think that's critical. And we spend a lot of times as employees on Zoom calls. Everybody's familiar with Zoom fatigue at this point. We've been doing this for quite some time, and that's a real thing. And I would just say that another major stressor in the lives of a lot of workers right now is that micromanagement through Zoom fatigue. A lot of times you see that employers will like to see their people to ensure that they're working since they're in a home office environment. They want to kind of keep tabs on them, and that can be a really stressful thing. I think that employers need to be aware of and just allow their people to have space so that they can be their most productive selves. It doesn't mean that you totally lose sight of them, and you should, like I said, be reaching out to them individually and building and fostering those relationships with them, but don't overwhelm them with like calls that are unnecessary, because I think that just adds another level of stress that people don't need right now.
And what about job seekers? Do you think that they should have kind of a routine or structure so that they don't feel that they are lost and every
Yeah.
day?
Yeah, absolutely. I think creating structure is critical because, when you're out of that 9 to 5 environment, you find yourself with a fair amount of free time, and you can kind of get consumed pretty quickly in the job search process where, uh, it's an anxiety ridden environment because you're trying to put your best foot forward. Maybe you're, lining up interviews. You feel like you're on the stage essentially at all times, and so I think you need to be deliberate about how you define your day and where you spend your time. So creating boundaries, I think, is absolutely critical. Just being aware that that vulnerability does exist, and if you don't structure your day appropriately, you can find yourself kind of lost in the midst of all of that chaos, and it can kind of swirl on you and develop into a bit of a cyclone in your life. So I would say that, yeah, start your day early. Outline your day as you would if you were in, your 9 to 5 job. Like, create blocks of time to do different things, and they don't all have to be sitting in front of a computer filling out applications. You should be blocking out time to do things that actually, you know foster kind of your spiritual life, foster your 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 psyche as well, you know, help to keep you in a position of strength rather than dipping into that kind of defensive posture that we can all find ourselves in at times when we're seeking a new position, because we feel like we're desperate, we need something now, and we have to try and avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, I always tell people asking from advice, I tell them, have, as you mentioned, have blogs, but also have, let's say, 8 to 9, I'm reviewing jobs, and then go for a walk, and then come back, apply for a few jobs, and then take the dog. I know that we cannot meet people now. I usually say go for a coffee or an informational interviews. Maybe, again, do other stuff, you know, follow companies, maybe watch a YouTube video, or see how you can improve yourself, or maybe learn a new skill that everyone is doing these days. Those are the things that will help you get kind of a structure and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think along the lines of how you kind of stay in that positive mindset, there's a number of different outlets you can access. And I would say, I mean, you know, I'm the Lamp on the Stand motivational ministry, so I'm very spiritual. And I think, you know, committing time to that spiritual place is very important, you know, whether that's through, you know, reading the word or through prayer or through devotionals, things like that. But just filling your mind with things that are keeping you in a position of strength. And that could be, you know, reading. It could be spending time with, I keep my AirPods in a lot of the day. And so I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to a sermon, I'm listening to a motivational speaker on YouTube. I'm always keeping something, you know, flowing through my brain throughout the day to ensure that I don't dip into that space of vulnerability and, you know, start the downward spiral.
Or just have a gratitude journal. You know, I started doing that for a while now. Have 3 things I'm grateful, and you can be very specific. I'm today grateful for waking up, or healthy, or I'm grateful for having this interview with Matthew, or I'm grateful for something, for a friend, for a conversation. You can go very specific, for the nature, for your pets, for your family members. There's a lot of to be grateful these days that other people don't have, that also can help your mindset.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. I've done weeds and seeds lists before as well. So I like to think that I'm planting the seeds by offering that gratitude, and I'm listing out things that I'm thankful for. And it could be as simple as the sun outside my window, you know, my family. It could be more complex and specific things as well. And then I'll write the weed list. And these are things that I want to get rid of. I write the weed list and then I toss it in the trash can. It's a very, you know, moving psychological exercise. It really has a bigger impact than you can imagine.
Those are great tips, Matthew. Thank you very much. So for the audience watching or listening for the first time, I'm going to ask Matthew a couple of questions, and they will be posted on a daily basis. So it will be like a journey with us every day. You can watch all the videos or a few of the videos. And if you like them, please like and share, leave comment, and we're here to help you. So tune in tomorrow for another great question with Matthew.